everyone. Welcome to the webinar. We're going to talk today about tips for getting your consumer product to market. And my name is Tamara Monosoff, and I'm delighted that you're here. If you could jump into the chat before we get started, just let me know if all is well and you can hear me, see me. I'm going to say hello right now to Anjuli. I hope I'm saying your name correctly. Thanks for joining us. Mrs. Bell, Rebecca, Cheryl, Keith, Monica. Awesome. So please say hello. Let me know where you are in the process. Let me know if you're in the idea stage, you have a product idea stage, a product idea and you're kind of mulling it over. If you're in the prototyping stage, manufacturing, funding, or selling. So let me know where you are in the process. Also, let me know where you're stuck. That's what I'd like to hear today, because my goal is to give you as much information as I can. As usual, I don't know if you've attended my webinars in the past, but I try to give you absolutely as much helpful information possible so that you can take this information and run by the end of the webinar. And I also want to leave enough time to answer your specific questions. So the best way I think for us to do this is if you could type your questions as you think of them, as I'm going through the different steps of bringing a product to market. And I recognize that each one of you are in a very different place, but the journey is pretty much the same. And so my hope is that I'm going to scratch the surface of this process and hopefully give you some real tips and information that will be of value to you so that you can take that next step. So with that said, let me just jump over really quickly and make sure all is well. So please let me know that you can hear me. Okay, Keith is interested in selling and licensing. Monica, I'm in the prototype phase. Rebecca, I have a product I've been selling on my own on Etsy. Want to know where to go from here. And Julie, thanks. I'm in a prototyping stage and I need your help. Dawn, manufacturing and selling. Hey, Dawn. Awesome. Okay, if you are logging in, we have a lot of people logged in, and if you're on your phone or your iPad, I will not be able to see your questions in the chat. So hopefully you'll be able to get to a computer. If not, I'm hoping that the others will ask questions that will answer your questions as well. Also, with the replay, I believe that you'll be able to post additional questions if they come up. With that said, let's jump right in. We're going to cover all those things that you just asked me about. I'm going to talk about every single one of them right now. So with that said, I'm going to jump over to my slides. Okay, you should see my screen here in just a minute. And here we go. Okay, good. Let me know if you have any issues. I'm just going to bring up my the chat here so I can make sure to see and stay in touch with you while I'm going through these slides. And also, please, again, post your questions as you think of them, and we'll cover as many specific questions at the end. So just for those of you who are unfamiliar with my background, I won't go through this whole slide with you, but what I will say is that I consider myself a social entrepreneur. I've spent the last decade helping product entrepreneurs and authors both bring your products to life and really get them out into the world, whether it's on Shark Tank, whether it's into the big box retail stores. And you're going to see in just a moment, some of the people who have participated in my class are getting massive, awesome results. So I want to, I'll show you some of their products in just a moment. And you may be familiar with one of my best-selling books. It's the Mom Inventor's Handbook, How to Turn Your Great Idea into the Next Big Thing. And so my background really is in product development because I went through this process myself, inventing my own product, and made a lot of mistakes along the way. And so my intention always is to share what I learn, and so that I can give that information to you so that you can avoid those mistakes and also really hit the ground running in a much more powerful way than when I started out. Okay, and I've sold my products on home shopping networks, QVC, thousands of retail stores nationwide, and now my product launch participants are also now having this amazing success as well. So today we're going to cover a lot. As I was going through the slides, I was like, oh my gosh, my intention is not to overwhelm, it's always to inform. My goal is to give you everything. So let's just jump in and we'll get through as much as we possibly can. I'm going to touch on licensing, market research, product pricing, prototyping, patenting, and I'm going to tell you about a special offer that I have today. Then we're going to get into funding, which is like my favorite topic. I just love the opportunities today, and I want to share them with you. And then also some tips for selling to retail that I've learned over time. So let's jump in. So here is Tiffany Crummins. She used my book to bring her product to market, and she launched on Shark Tank, was the first woman to receive funding on Shark Tank, actually. So you might recognize her. You may have just seen my interview with Michelle Smith, who is the inventor of wrist readers. She just exceeded her goal for her crowdfunding campaign. She is taking my product launch classes, and super exciting that she exceeded her goal in a very short period of time. So now she's in production. And another one, Ruby Vasquez, she also exceeded her goal on her crowdfunding campaign, asked for $30,000 and made over $40,000. She also is in production right now for her Easy Pack. This is also Ann Hurley. She's the inventor of Love Chicken booster seats, which are sold all over the United States. And these are just a few, Babies R Us and Sam's Club, but she's in many more all over the US. And Sasquatch Pet Beds used my book to bring his product to market with the biggest pet bed ever, but he's distributed worldwide. So you see we have a real range of different types of items. But essentially, I want to just go over that there are two paths that you can take as an inventor. And one is manufacturing and one is licensing. And they are two different roads. And I'm going to talk a little bit about licensing, and then we're going to talk most of today about manufacturing. But I just want you to be aware of the two different paths. So what is a licensing agreement? It's simply a contract between an inventor, you, and another company, which is usually a manufacturer that produces products that are similar to the one that you're inventing. And what happens is when you sign that deal with them, they assume all the responsibility for developing and selling that product in the marketplace. And essentially, you are passing over all of your rights, your idea, your patents, your copyrights, and your trademarks to them. Okay, so why would you do this? For some people, it's a good fit because if you love generating ideas, but you're really not wanting to go into business, that is an option for you. You may not have the financial resources, and so you feel like another company may be able to get it to market much more quickly. Or another way to do this is that you manufacture, you have some sales success, and then guess what happens? What happens is you now have raised the awareness of your product and the need in the market, and it's much, much easier to get a licensing agreement at that point after you've had success because you've proven the market. And so a company that is going to license your idea loves that, loves it when you bring them an idea that's already selling. So essentially, there is a road to manufacturing, and I put it this way. You start with your market research. Are there enough people who are going to be interested in purchasing your product? And then you discover the great materials, and some of you are prototyping right now, so you're playing with different materials to see what's a good fit. Then you want to think about how to protect your idea, find the money, make the goods, land retail accounts, and get the word out through national traditional media as well as social media. And right here is you. You are taking action by being right here on this webinar. And that, to me, is that you're willing to be here is a sign that you are on track for making this happen for yourself. So really, the goal is to find out if your product idea is hot or not, right? You don't want to be guessing this. You want to know this. And so there's some things that I want you to think about. This is really hard for a lot of people to think about, because we fall in love with our product and we think about it night and day. Even in the middle of the night, I found myself thinking about different designs and materials. And tell me if you have had this experience too. Type in the chat and let me know if you've kind of fallen in love with your product. So this is the thing. It's really important to really take a step back and realize that your product is a product. It is not your baby. And I say this because I hear this a lot. People tell me it's their baby. But the reality is that you have to look at your product objectively. And that the most important step here is market research. And this is the step that most entrepreneurs skip. You get so excited about your idea that you jump straight into how you're going to make it and create a prototype without really stepping back and finding out if there's a big enough need. And it really isn't your fault. What I've learned over time is experts always say, well, do your market research. But nobody actually shows you how to do market research. And so I dived in very deeply into this and how to actually do it. But right now I'm just going to give you some pointers. It's really important that you step back and let's just pretend that you're on the team of a large company like Procter & Gamble, who makes hundreds of products. And your job, you're an employee of the company, and your job is to evaluate this new product idea, the one that you are working on right now. That this is your job. And you have to tell your boss whether or not Procter & Gamble should move forward and invest the time and money into developing this product. This is really important because I want you to look at your product objectively. And the reason why this is so important is because you don't want to be down the road having spent thousands and thousands of dollars only to learn that people don't love your product as much as you do. So that's what I want you to really think about as you are thinking of developing your product. This is one of my product course participants, and I just love this product. And when they first started out, they're two sisters. And when they first started out, they just had one. And it's a bag that actually dries wet electronics. And it's called the Beastie bag, Beastie. And now they're all over the entire country, sold in sporting goods stores nationwide. And they have, as you can see, a whole line of these products. But when they first started out, they didn't know if there was a big enough market. And so they first started out by saying, hey, it all started with their personal need. And then they asked their friends and family if they'd ever gotten their phone wet. And then they did internet searching, wet cell phone, and methods for drying wet cell phones. And what they learned is that nearly everyone at some point had either gotten their own cell phone wet or knew someone who had, and that their research revealed that there were 300 million cell phones in the US, and that 1 in 3 will get wet, and that's 100 million wet cell phones. So that was a huge need, and that they learned from doing their big picture market research. Really important that you know these numbers. And also, what is a fantastic way to do this research are to search for complaints. And honestly, it can be the biggest gift in the world when you find complaints about the problem that your product solves. So get onto Google and type in complaint about the problem that your product solves, solution for the problem that your product solves, blog about, and then put in the subject area, reviews on, You see, and then use variations, like pull out your thesaurus or synonym finder, because you may describe your product with certain terms, but it may be that you bring up other search results if you were to find similar type other words, like instead of using fabric, use textiles. So you can really play with that, and you'll be amazed what different searches by using different words, similar words, will bring up different data. And then you want to, once you've gathered your big picture data, like you know what the problem is that people are experiencing, you know that there are 300 million or 100 million wet cell phones in the US, then what you want to do is you want to gather specific information. And I want you to know this doesn't have to be really difficult. It can be gathering people together informally. And so you ask your friends to invite friends that you don't know, because your friends love you and they want to support you, your friends and family. So you really need to go beyond your friends and family and ask them to invite people that you don't know, and you have a conversation about your product, what they like and don't like, would they use it, why not, if not, what would they change, what price point would they think is fair, what stores would they expect to purchase it in. These are the types of questions that you would be asking, and you can ask these types of questions in all of these different ways, through a survey using like SurveyMonkey, through interviewing people. But I found that focus groups are great because you get a whole group together, and they can be impromptu as well. So intercepts is a word for an impromptu focus group. So really quickly, for example, I had a product that I was developing, and it was in my bag, in my purse. And I took my kids to go get some ice cream. And it was a beautiful day, and we were sitting outside, and we were all in this like circle. And I looked up and realized there were about 20 parents, kids running everywhere, and this was my perfect target audience for the product that was in my purse. So I leapt to my feet and I just said, hey, excuse me, I just wanted to get some feedback on a product I'm developing. I'd really love to know what you think. Do you mind just spending 2 minutes talking to me about it? And everybody got really excited and they wanted to see it. And within less than 10 minutes, I received the most powerful research that I was able to take back and use, and it was free. So I wanted to just sprinkle those ideas out there for you in terms of getting the specific data, because you need to hear what real people are thinking about your product, not just the big picture data. Then it's important to really look at the competition. And as you know, you can find the competitive products. You've probably already started doing this as you had the idea you wanted to search for it, and you're searching in different venues. But the question really is, there can be other similar products out there, but how different is your product? And is it different enough for retailers to take the ones that are currently being sold and move them off the shelf and replace it with yours? So when you go to the store, you can see there's oftentimes 2, 3, 4, 5 competitive products all side by side. So that's what you have to ask yourself. Is your product different enough from the current competition? Now we're going to talk about pricing, because this is really an important part of your market research. And this is how I do it. I research, let's just pretend like I want to bring a gardening trowel to market. So I jump on and I see, when I'm searching, that there's a range of pricing. So this one's about $10, this one's about $18, this one's about $25, and this one's about almost $60. So I look at the full range right here. And then I jump onto a global sourcing site like Alibaba.com or globalsources.com, and I compare. And I look at the price of production. How much is this going to actually cost per unit to make overseas? So gardening trowel overseas is about $1.30 to $2.30 per piece. And then what that means is, and you have to look and see what are the minimum orders. Usually if you order fewer than their minimum order, it's going to be the higher price point, just so you know. Okay, so you get on here and you say, okay, with that price point, let's just say, take a range. If it's 1.3 to 2.3, let's just say it's $2 per unit, just for simplicity. Then what are our estimated price production costs so that you can make money, right? This is what you need to be able to do. You need to be able to make money in the end, or it's not worth doing. So let's just pretend that that trowel, because let's take the conservative number. Remember those trowels that I just researched? One of them, the cheapest one on that list, was $10. So I just want to be conservative and say, you know what? Let's just say that my trowel can only sell for $10. That's the retail price. So I need to cut that in half, and that's the wholesale price if I'm going to sell it to hardware stores and gardening stores. So then I take that $5 that I'm earning, and I have to deduct the production cost that you just saw, which is an estimated production cost that you can see if you're producing it overseas, is $2. So you take the $5, you subtract the $2, and then you've earned $3 gross profit margin per unit. Okay, that means that that's what's left over for you. And that's a 60% gross profit margin, and that's a healthy margin, by the way. You usually want to try to aim for a 50% gross profit margin in order to have a healthy business. So with that said, let's continue on. So as I've mentioned, I've just barely scratched the surface of these, but really you're looking for the big picture data, like the sisters did with their cell phones. That's the big picture data. Then you want to find out what people honestly think about your product through your informal focus groups or surveys. You want to look at the competition and see if yours is different enough, and if not, what can you tweak or change with your product so it is different enough the retailers will want them and consumers will want them. And then the price point, really checking to make sure that there's enough money left over for you. I say this because I've had many entrepreneurs come to me, and in the end, there's no money left over because they didn't think through the pricing model. It's a very simple model, but it's really important to follow. So let's say your market research turns out great. Everything works, everything that we just went through, there's enough people in the market. People say, yes, I want that. Yes, I experienced that problem. You hear, and you got the solution, and they're asking you, when is it going to be available? And your price points are working out. Then you are good to go, and you can jump into the prototyping stage, which I know some of you are already there. So each of your journeys really is your own journey because your product is unique. It's your own. You've made it up. But essentially, the steps are the same. And the question I have is, what problem does it solve? Now, some things like fashion items, you know, you're not solving a problem. But for most, for products, oftentimes it's great if you can tap into what solution you're providing. Well, with a fashion type item, it's more like, how will this person feel when they wear your item? What's going to happen to them in their life? Are they going to be more successful, beautiful? You know, what's going to happen? So that's the kind of marketing that you have to tap into. But for this purpose here, I'm going to just really think about the problem that your product solves. And just for those of you who are new to prototyping, there are really 4 different areas. There are hard goods, which are items that are made out of things that are hard, right? Plastic, wood, metal, rubber. Well, rubber's not hard, but it is considered a hard good. Electronics. And then there's soft goods, which are things that are made out of fabric that are cut and sewn, like bedding and curtains and handbags and plush toys and towels, these types of things. Then there are formulators, which are you hire a chemist. And things like, you know, organic hand sanitizer, cleaning agents, pet food, vitamins. You need a chemist to help you because they need to help you understand how you can produce the item without without it spoiling. And how do you have to package it to preserve it? And so those are different considerations. And then with food, you also, you have a recipe, and oftentimes you do hire a chef to help you. Interestingly, one of the women that I featured in my book, she ships chicken soup across the entire country to people who are sick. And it's an amazing story, and I won't go into it in detail, but she learned that it is very difficult to ship chicken across state lines. So she had to learn more than she ever wanted to know about chicken. But these are the things that's why I say your journey is unique. But again, we all still go through a lot of the same issues. So again, take your time with your prototype because your idea works perfectly in your mind. But it's really not until you start working on it and testing different materials that you might encounter some flaws in your thinking. And that's just part of the process. So it's really important to not try to jam this through, and because I know we get so excited that we just want to get it done immediately. But it's really important to take time with your prototype so that it really performs well, it looks fantastic, and that it incorporates the feedback from the real people that will buy it, which are the people that you were talking to in your informal focus groups. Those are consumers who've really given you a gift by giving you this feedback. And then it's important to keep it simple. And I think of it as an expanding and contracting your creativity. First, you think about absolutely everything you could possibly include to make your product the best. And then because of cost, you need to refine it and really only keep the most essential aspects of the product that are going to make it stand out from the competition, right? So the more bells and whistles that you add and the more complex it is to manufacture it, the more it's going to cost to produce. And then now with the introduction of 3D printing, if you are creating a plastic item, it's awesome because now you can produce prototypes very easily. You just need a CAD drawing, which is a computer-aided drawing that an engineer would do, or to save money, a student from an industrial college can produce for a fraction of the cost. And or even on Fiverr, if you're familiar with Fiverr, you can get some designers there. And then they put that design right into this machine, and it will create this prototype for you. And it's really awesome because you can oftentimes identify flaws in the design after you see the 3D printed piece. Okay, really quickly touching on legal. I know it's boring, but it is good to know. And patenting, again, I'm not an attorney. I think you know that, but essentially I'm just sharing what I've learned from my own experience. I have design patents, utility patents. I've been knocked off many times. And so there really is a wild misconception that a patent is required in order to make money with your product. And that may be true in some cases, but it's not necessarily true. And I've had very strong utility patents that have been knocked off, as I mentioned. And so, you really need to weigh everything out. And so, essentially, what is a patent? A patent is a grant from the government, which gives you the right to exclude others from making and selling your product. And so there are a few things to consider. I see a patent as a tool, which may or may not be useful, but I think you must know that it is definitely not required. There are thousands of products out on the market that don't have patents. But one of the other things is that people think once they've patented their product that covers the whole product, and that's not the case. It only covers an aspect of the product, like how something connects, how it functions, not the product, the full product itself. And I have found over time that trademarks and copyrights can be much more helpful, and they're far less expensive in protecting your item. So like I had one of my trademarks was copied, and I was able to send one letter. And, I found this, by the way, I went into the grocery store. This has happened to me a couple times. It was in Target one time, and one of my products was knocked off with a very similar name. And then also I went into the grocery store and saw another one of my products was somebody else's, had their own product with my brand on it. But because those brand and logos and names of your product can be trademarked, it's awesome because you can get those off store shelves so fast with trademark infringements. But let me just say this, there are no patent police. So it's very difficult and extremely expensive to fight people who infringe on your patent, but trademarks is a much easier process. Okay, so TMB, I see you have a question mark. I need to know, yeah, what your question is. Go ahead and type in the question and I'll get to it as quickly as I can. Okay, so let's talk about funding, which is one of my absolute favorite topics. And the reason why it's just one of my very favorite topics is because it's so much easier for you today to fund your business than it was for me a decade ago. I am blown away by the results that my product class participants are getting. It is just awesome because crowdfunding didn't exist. And I am going to also tell you beyond crowdfunding, some of the resources that I did use that were surprisingly simple. And I got some very big cash infusions during my production runs. And I'm going to share those resources with you today. Before I do, though, I want to quickly tell you, how are we doing on time? I want to quickly tell you about a special opportunity, and then I'm going to dive into the money resources as well as give you some tips for selling to retailers, okay? So, but before we do, I want to tell you that I am going to offer you something really awesome, and that is special for you for my product launch systems. These are my 3 different classes. The How Hot Is Your Product is about how to really dive in and do your market research, which we touched on. The Ultimate Product Launch System takes you through prototyping, manufacturing, protecting, funding, really covers all of that in depth. And then my boot camp, product sales boot camp, really talks about all different ways of selling your product, not just into retail stores, but e-tailers, catalogs, home shopping networks, daily deal websites. So it's a robust program for selling. And as you can see, these prices below, this is $200, this is $497, $497. And what I wanted to offer you, I'll tell you in just a minute, but I wanted to show you the back end. The back end, this is what it looks like. So when you sign up for my program, you get all the modules instantly. You'll see them all here. And you click on each one. And when you click on your module, there's a message from me. And here are different things that, I have things for you to download. Like I have the prototype and manufacturing resource list. I have the new product success checklist. I have the margin calculator to help you make sure you're on track with your margins and your pricing. That thing is so powerful to help you with your pricing. And then you're going to get in the modules, you'll see I teach you all sorts of things like how do you find sales reps and really dig deep. I give you absolutely everything I can to help you succeed. And then I also give these bonuses to you. As you saw, they're in there. And also we have a live monthly coffee call where you're not left alone when you are, reviewing the modules, that we have an opportunity to connect every month where I log in live like I am right now and answer your questions. So with that said, I'm offering this. The whole system is $997 for all 3 of those programs. And I'm offering it to you today for $297, which is a steal. It is totally jam-packed with everything you could probably imagine to walk you through step by step with me on video through all these modules. So it's just an awesome opportunity. I hope that you will take it. I'm going to jump over here really quickly, and I'm just going to put this so that, oops, I hope I didn't it looks like I just lost my presentation, but I'll get it back. Hold on. I'm going to just type it right here into the screen for you. Okay, and then it looks like, and I apologize, I have no idea why my presentation just disappeared, so give me just a second, and let me get it back. So just give me 1 second. It should only take me a moment to get it back because I want to share this funding resources with you. And here we go. Here we go. All right. All right, good. Okay. And let's scroll right down to the funding. Now, if you have any questions about this special offer, please put them into the chat area. And it's just like I said, it's just an incredible offer. And I really hope that you take advantage because, as I mentioned, I will give you absolutely everything I can. And I do in this. Oh, and also just so you know, it includes workbooks. So as you're watching each of the video modules in all 3 of these programs, you have a place to keep your notes because I wanted to keep it super organized and easy for you. So with that said, it's in the chat. I hope you'll jump in for this $297 price point. You're going to save $700. So I hope you grab it. Okay, with that said, I'm moving on. So let's talk about crowdfunding. As you saw earlier, I have, wait a minute, make sure I'm still sharing with you. Can you see my screen? Yes, okay, looks like it's still on, so great. Okay, just didn't want to lose you there. All right, so there's just something I want you to be aware of. Crowdfunding is incredible. It's a crowdfunding platform. It allows you to post your project, and you can be in the prototyping stage. As you saw with Wrist Reader, she posted a prototype. Also with Ruby, she posted only a prototype and showed that in her video demonstrations. Those were prototypes that they were using. And then they were able to let everybody know what they needed for the amount that they were asking. Ruby asked for $30,000 and Michelle asked for $20,000. And one of the things I really want you to know about this is that people contribute, that goes out socially, and people contribute to these campaigns. And the contribution platforms are donations, are money you do not have to pay back. But some of the crowdfunding sites are different. It's an equity stake, meaning that these people who are pledging money are investing in your company and actually get a percentage of your company. So please make sure that you're making sure that you understand the different terms so that you can set yourself up on one that makes the most sense for your business. Okay, so here's some quick advantages for crowdfunding. You raise money quickly. You saw that with Ruby and Michelle. I mean, I think it was Michelle just exceeded her goal within 25 days. So pretty amazing. And also you get cash without giving away the farm if you're doing contribution crowdfunding. You're sharing the financial risk. I mean, that's $20,000 that Michelle does not have to pay back. I mean, that's pretty awesome. And then you also have a built-in marketing tool. When people are excited about your product and are pre-ordering it, which they're allowed to do on the different crowdfunding sites, that is confirmation that people are loving your product. So great way to validate your product in the marketplace. And it's proving your concept, right? Because people are saying, yes, I want that. And you're seeing what people are saying. If you post a crowdfunding campaign and you get no response, then maybe your product isn't as hot as you thought it was. And that's really important to learn. And imagine how good that would be to figure that out before spending thousands of dollars on production. Because I've had people come to me after they're paid $10,000 to be in a trade show booth and have put their product out there and not sold anything. And so that's why I'm really trying to have you walk through this process thoughtfully so that that doesn't happen to you. And it doesn't have to happen to you. You see all the success that my clients are receiving, and it's because they are actually going through all of these steps. Okay, it also, crowdfunding helps you build an incredible loyal fan base. They're cheering for you. They've donated to your company, and they are cheering for you. So, and it's also a great way to get free publicity. That's something that Michelle was talking about. She got on a local TV show after she had already launched her crowdfunding campaign. And so that even helped her campaign even more after she got on a local TV show. So here are just some platforms really quickly. Here's Kickstarter, Indiegogo, and Crowdfunder, Crowd Supply, Fundable, and Rocket Hub are some of the biggest ones. And so both of the two examples I've shown you today of Michelle and Ruby, they both did it on Kickstarter. And they had great results. But I've heard great things also about Indiegogo, and those are both donation crowdfunding sites. So what are 3 strategies for a successful crowdfunding campaign? One is a passionate video, clear goals. People who are giving you money want to really get an understanding of what you're going to use that money for, and then attractive rewards. You're going to be able to give them your product. You're going to be able to give them something. If the product is too expensive, then you can give them a mention where you do a news release and you mention the names of all the contributors, or you put all the contributors' names, you know, thanks to, and you post it on social media, you put it on your website, that kind of thing. So these are 3 clear, important strategies for crowdfunding success. Okay, here's some alternative funding resources I wanted to share with you, because most entrepreneurs don't even think about microloans, and this is how I got, because the crowdfunding didn't exist when I was launching my product. So I turned to microloans, and they are awesome. They are nonprofit organizations all over the country, and they want to give money to entrepreneurs. Kiva Step Ahead Loan is, you should definitely check it out. And they give loans from $5,000 to $10,000. Keep in mind, these are nonprofits, so they're much lower percentage rates than banks. They also don't expect 3 years of financials like banks do. They're very different in the way in which they work and support entrepreneurs. There's Zip. Here's Kiva Zip, which is like crowdfunding. I've had people recently use this and couldn't believe it because the money was in their bank account within like 48 hours. So here's zip.kiva.org. And TMC Working Solutions, they gave me a loan for $25,000, a low interest loan for $25,000 early on, and incredibly helpful when I was doing a production run. Axion USA, I've heard great things about. They'll give you up to $50,000 flexible terms. Amazing. And you only have to be in business for 6 months. That blew me away. And Opportunity Fund, which is, they give small business loans to low-income entrepreneurs who don't qualify for traditional bank loans, and they'll give up to $100,000. Again, incredible. So take advantage of microloans. This is really untapped, and many entrepreneurs don't even realize that these are out there for them. Okay, so I have some tips for getting into retail. Do you want me to keep going and go through those tips, or do you want me to stop and answer some questions? We have, 15 more minutes for a full hour. I will do either one. So type into the chat right now and let me know. If you want me to do tips, say tips. And if you want me to answer questions, write a question mark, and I will go ahead and then stop and answer your questions. So go ahead and please write that into the chat right now. Okay. Let me see. Let me know. Okay, here they are coming in. Yes, tips for retail. Yes. Okay. All right, let's do this. We'll do it fast and then I'll jump over. So I'm going to give you 7 tips for getting your product into retail so that you can earn more money. Right? Tips? Okay, got it. I'm doing the tips. All right, here we go. So I want you to think about this. I thought this graphic was perfect. The eye of the buyer. Let's look inside of this little pupil. Yes, it's a dollar sign. The buyer doesn't care how clever your product is. They are only thinking about if it's going to make money and if their consumers, the people that shop at their store or wherever it is, catalog, is going to want to buy it. So I want you to just think about it in that perspective. When you are speaking to buyers, that is their interest. So that's how you need to think. You need to think about how it is that they can make money. So one of the very first things I want to share with you is that proven results really will help interest retail buyers. So if you go locally and you know, go into some of your local stores and have them carry your product, and you are just blowing through your product, and they're asking you to replenish every week or every 2 weeks or every month, and the numbers are really good, then that's something you'd want to share. I show this picture here because one of Anne's tactics was that she sold on a daily deal website, Zulily, her cushions right here. So that's why I'm showing you this cushion. So she sold this on Zulily and a daily deal website, and she sold 300 units in, I think 300 units in, I think it was 3 hours, 300 units in 3 hours, or 300 units in 1 hour or something. It must have been 300 units in 1 hour. And it was like this crazy amount in a really short period of time. So in the subject heading, when she reached out to Babies R Us, she used that. She said, Love Chicken booster cushions sold 300 units in 1 hour. And the Babies R Us person responded to her in under 1 hour. She got an email back and was invited to a buyer meeting. Nothing works better than sales results, so to interest other retailers. So that is something to think about. And by the way, selling on a daily deal website is a great way to get that kind of numbers up and get traction, which will definitely raise the eyebrows of other retail buyers in other venues, like in retail stores and catalogs. You want to remove, in tip number 2, you want to remove the risk of the first order. They're taking a risk and they're feeling nervous about it. They don't know if your product is going to sell or not. So make it super easy for them. Tell them you'll pay for shipping. Offer the product on consignment. I got my product into so many stores giving it to them on consignment. They didn't have to pay me unless it sold. That is a fantastic way to get your foot in the door. And you can offer discounts, you know, buy 2 cases, get the 3rd free. Obviously, you have to figure out the costs on your end and what you can afford to do. But this is the thing, offer them a real discount. Don't just say 10% off. People don't go for that anymore. You want a real big discount. And then what I always did is, you know, usually people will charge more if you use your credit card because you get charged 5% from your credit card company. Well, instead, I always gave 5% off, additional off, even on top of the discounts I was giving, on top of free shipping if they used a credit card. Why? Because I wanted that money to be charged and instantly in my bank account, because that helped me with my operations costs. So something to think about that really does work. Tip number 3, really, I want you to think about peer influence. If one buyer likes it, then ask them to introduce you to another buyer. So oftentimes you'll find this will happen to you. You get into a retail situation and a buyer really does like it, but then they say, well, you know what, I really like it, but I no longer am in charge of that area. That happens all the time. So don't just say, oh, okay, thanks. Instead say, oh, I'm so glad you like it. Could you please make an introduction for me to the appropriate buyer? And that way you get a warm introduction, inside introduction to another buyer. Really important. So when someone says they like it, but they can't help you, figure out how you can ask them to help you get it the proper introduction. Tip number 4, share your past and future media hits. You may not have media hits yet. I get that. I remember I didn't have any either. But what you want to do is when you do get your first media hit, you want to share it with retailers because they want to see that your product is newsworthy, that it's going to get in front of all the eyeballs that are reading Oprah magazine or People magazine. The fact that you are in front of thousands of people and you can tell them that they can purchase in, you know, this whatever store you direct them to. That's a really important piece of powerful, it's a marketing tool that will really support your retailers. Tip number 5, show them how your product fits in with a major trend or national event. I can't tell you how important this is, because you can show them a product and don't expect the buyer to make that mental leap. They are stressed out. They are having to manage many products at one time. They're under tons of pressure to hit their numbers. So don't expect them to just instantly get your product and how it can be used. So what I always did is I would show them different ways in which they could use it. And then when I contact them, I'll say, hey, Halloween is coming up. This is a perfect tidy table cover for pumpkin carving. Or hey, Easter's coming around the corner. It's perfect for Easter eggs or Christmas dyeing. You see, and you put that right in and you tell the buyers how it can be used and what national or major trend it will tie into. It will really help them, get them thinking about your product, and it will help them be thinking about it. And boy, do we have to hurry up and get it out, get it ready and into our system before the season begins. Tip number 6 is sales reps. Sales reps are a fantastic way to, they're an extension of yourself. And the beauty is that they have relationships with retail accounts already. And they have much more leverage because they often go in and they represent, 10 items at once. And it's not just you pounding on their door, but now they have trusted reps that they've worked with for years. And now that rep is carrying your item and bringing it into the meeting. And so they have a lot of clout. So it's really important that when you can start working with sales reps. And the last tip is really don't overthink it. Follow the retailer's process. Sometimes it can feel overwhelming, but it's gotten so much easier than when I started, especially with all of these online sites like steals.com. If you go right here to this link and you wanted to get your first sales traction and sell your product, try to sell it in volume through one of these sites, the process is so simple. I mean, it's really just a short little form. So really don't overthink it and just go for it. In making sure, of course, your numbers are right, because you don't want to just give your product away. You have to make sure that you are in a healthy place with your margins. And then if you can sell on a site like this, is a great way to prove that there is indeed a need for your product. So I hope that helps, and I would love to answer your questions. Oh, I have one bonus tip. And that is to create a wow factor email. This is, by the way, also included. A template is included in your product launch system. And that is, I show you how to create this email that is sizzling, that gets buyers to open the email. And it includes a sizzling subject heading like Anne Hurley used that got her into Babies R Us. Shows a short, under 2-minute product demo. How much profit margin can they make? You want to say you can earn 50% margin per unit. If you say that to a retail buyer, that's music to their ears. Remember that that's what all they're thinking about is the money. And then how can you give them an incentive to buy? What is that special thing? The free shipping plus, buy 2 cases, get 1 free kind of a thing. And this is, you have a template in there that you can just plug in all of your numbers, your information, and send it out to retail buyers. So with that said, let me switch back to your questions. I hope that this was helpful and that you have some gained some new information that you can use. Okay. So let me see. Dawn, catch 22. My product sells really well direct to consumer, but the numbers don't work well to go wholesale. Yet we need wholesale volume to drive down costs and increase margin. Can you suggest? Yeah, that's a really tough thing. So one of the things that you would want to do is really ramp up your consumer campaign. So I would be aggressively using social media and hanging out where your target audience, your customers are spending their time, and driving them back consistently to your website with special coupons. If you can do a buy one, get one free, anything that you can do to make your consumers happy. That's really tough. You're experiencing that whole issue of not having the price point where it needs to be with wholesale, and it is challenging. I hear you, Dawn. And so your tactic really has to be, how are you going to sell aggressively to consumers? And one of the very best ways to do that is to consistently drive traffic back with special offers to your website or wherever you want to sell it. If you're selling on Amazon, and that's another thing, if you can sell direct to consumers on Amazon. And I have a lot of my program participants are selling successfully on Amazon and earning several $1,000s per month. And that's in addition to their wholesale accounts. So you may very well want to do, here, I'll type it into the chat where it's fulfillment. I think you know this already, Dawn, but for others that don't, it's fulfillment by Amazon. And you just go to Amazon.com /FBA, which is fulfillment by Amazon. And they have a lot of people I'm working with are selling through there, where you ship all of your items to the Amazon warehouse. Amazon handles the shipping, the customer service. It's posted on Amazon, which is the biggest marketplace in the world. So it's a great place to be. Much easier to sell there than on your own website. I will put a point of caution, and that is that you do not want to undermine Amazon or anyone else, meaning you need to be selling it on your website for more than you are selling it anywhere else. And that is because when you're selling it on Amazon or through a retailer, you don't want to be competing with them. You want to support them, especially if they have a big marketplace and are going to reach thousands more people than you are. So keep that in mind. I've learned that the hard way. Okay. Angelique, let's see. Found a manufacturer and 3D renderer, but my prototype consists of 2 phases. I don't know how to source or the process to expect. So that is probably a question for, you found a manufacturer and a 3D renderer. Okay. So that's a question you're going to have to speak to your factory about. The 3D renderer is, you could just, I don't know. I mean, you might have to do it in 2 parts and just see what the parts look like. But your factory should be able to walk you through this process. If they can't, that's a concern. So you need, and it's hard for me to know what type of materials you're working with, but if it's plastic, your factory should know how to solve this issue, okay, and deal with this. I had 2 phases also with one of my products where one of the pieces was in a plastic that was molded plastic, but then it required a person to attach a piece of elastic by hand, which really increased the cost of my manufacturing per unit, because a human being had to deal with my second phase, which was my adding the piece of elastic. So things to think about, what can you do to maybe make it all produced in one phase so that you're not increasing the complexity and increasing the cost, okay? Okay, Cheryl, I'm in the prototyping stage, would love to know about the designing process. How would I know who the reputable people are in the industry, when it's safe to share a prototype with others? So if you are wanting to make a prototype, let's say in the US, a really good resource you may already know about, but is thomas.net. And Cheryl, type in whether it's textile or what your product's made out of, but keep in mind that prototypers are people that they want to do business, and they're not in the business of stealing, but you do have to make sure that they're trusted. Just so you know, in my product launch system, I give you a list of trusted resources, and those resources were generously shared by many of my product entrepreneurs that are in my courses, who have found trusted resources and provided that information. So that is all. I have a long list of both factories in the US and abroad that are trusted resources. But just keep in mind that, you know, oftentimes these prototypers and these developers, you know, this is their job. This is how they make a living. But Thomas.net is a good resource in the US. Okay, let me think. Yeah, and Julie, you said, I do love my product, but you're right. There has to be emotional separation. Absolutely, it is tough to do, for sure. But yes, you'll be so glad you did. It's really important to look at your product objectively. And most importantly, you need to make sure that you can make money. You do not want to be in a situation where you've produced and spent a ton of money and you can't sell it. So you got to make sure your pricing works out before you go into production. All right, it's really important. Dawn, for crowdfunding, what is the best way to protect your product from being duplicated? Should you get a patent first? I do not recommend getting a patent first because, as I mentioned, it could be knocked off anyway. Really depends on your product. One of the best tools I have learned over time is a provisional patent application. That is not a patent. It's just a placeholder with the United States Patent and Trademark Office and gives you 12 months of patent pending status before you have to officially apply for a utility patent. And that is something that you can say when you post it in crowdfunding that your product is patent pending. And nobody, the beauty of a provisional patent application, by the way, is that it's not public information yet. So you can definitely be, you know, go out there and tell everyone it's patent pending, and no one can go onto uspto.gov and actually get any information. It's when you have a patent that's published, then everyone can see what you've published, it's public information, and then they can easily design around it. And that's what happened to me numerous times. Okay, and TMB had a similar type question. How can I get crowdfunded revealing my invention? Well, you can't do crowdfunding without revealing your idea. But I think Dawn and you had a similar thought, and that is you can do a provisional patent application. It costs a few $100s as opposed to thousands of dollars. And that way you can say patent pending while you're out there and you are crowdfunding. I hope that information helps. Okay, and Factory told me they need 3D renderings. Okay, so yeah, so that's interesting that they are, because usually with a factory I've seen is that they need CAD drawings, which are the 3D, it's the CAD drawings are 3D graphics essentially, and that's CAD drawings, but I think that we might be mixing things up here. They may not need what I was talking about is 3D printing, which is a machine that actually, you know, spits out your prototype in a very short period of time so that you can look and see if it needs to be modified. So I don't know if they're asking you if they need those 3D printed prototypes or if they just need the CAD drawings, which are 3D renderings of your product. Okay, I think that's where there's kind of just a mix-up, but the factories usually just need a 3D drawing, which is a CAD drawing, a computer-aided drawing. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Monica, okay, I know we're at the hour mark, everyone. I will stay on here. I can stay on for another, you know, 10, 15 minutes. Actually, I think at 3:15 my time, I do need to leave. So I'll just stay on for 10 more minutes. Happy to answer your questions. And while I do, I am going to just bring up this slide and so that you can have an opportunity. Okay, wait a second here. I jumped ahead here. Let me just get over here. To have it right at your fingertips. And I really hope that you will join me in this program. You're going to find answers to these questions. You're going to find the tools that you need. I'm on video. I am teaching every single class, and it's totally organized step by step. And so I welcome and invite you to really take this on with me, and then we connect like this every month, and I answer as many questions as I can during our coffee calls. And so I hope that you'll take advantage of this opportunity. And again, it is in the link is in the chat. So please go ahead and sign up and join me, and that way you can really dig deep and get to market, which is your goal. And that's what I'm here to help you do. Okay, Dawn, there are two Dawns. Aha, interesting. Okay, thanks for pointing that out. So, all right, I will go and I'll review, make sure I'm not skipping any Dawn questions, okay? But let me go to Monica first. So, Monica, you said, I have a name for my new company, but the domain has been purchased and it's not currently used. Do you recommend I add Co as the company or Inc. or consider a different name? Yeah, I know. That is so disappointing, isn't it? I get it. You know, .co, I just don't think has really taken off, to be honest. I mean, you've probably seen that too. I mean, it was supposed to be the big thing and it really sizzled out. And I would hate for people to type in that extra M because that's what we're used to, and it would take people to the other company and not you. So yeah, I would say I would probably come up with a different name. And it's also, you want to keep it as short as possible. So adding in Inc. Really, you know, you can do it, but honestly, Monica, I would go back to the drawing board and come up with something catchy that, you know, just to try, you're going to have to, I know this is part of the process, but you're going to probably find another name that you love, hopefully just as much. And so, you know, I would suggest probably going back to the drawing board on that one. Okay. And Anjali, how much one-on-one contact will we have with you if we purchase? Also, would you be willing to mentor me during this process? So what I do is I have every single month, we meet up just like this. And you can ask me as many questions as you want. And this is something that I make myself totally available to you every single month. So I've been doing this for years. And so that's how you can get your questions answered. So the best thing for you to do is to dive into the videos, watch the video, write down any questions. Then in the month, you just hook up with me through our coffee calls, just like this. I send out a personal invitation for the coffee calls. And then and it's usually close to the end of the month. And then that way you have all your questions that you've been able to keep notes on. And then the beauty of it is I'll answer your questions just like I am now. And then you get on to the next video and the next video. And you're going to find that you're going to progress so much more quickly, because what I find is that when you're by yourself, it really feels like you're kind of alone. And it's scary sometimes. I get that. And so I know, because I felt the same way. So that's how you can have access to me. I do offer VIP programs. My program is totally full right now, and that is an additional, much more expensive cost for my VIP programs, and that's where we do have one-on-ones. But right now I'm completely jam-packed and full. But this is the best way to get all of my content and have access to me every single month. So for $297, that is incredible. I mean, I'm just kind of shaking my head right now. What am I thinking? Because usually it's $997. So for this whole package. So I'm just saying, this is your chance to really get access to my content, my factory lists, my margin calculator. I mean, I give you everything you could possibly need. And my students, as you can see, all the people that have participated are having amazing results. And then you also get me once a month to do a coffee call with you. So with that said, I hope that answers your question. Okay, thanks, Cheryl. Okay, and Michelle, can you get another provisional patent with minor changes and submit when the first runs out? You know, that's a really important question, and I don't want to give you the wrong answer. Definitely check with an attorney. And do you have an attorney, Michelle? I have someone, he's usually I've given him so many people that he's often totally full, but my mind is blanking right now. Okay, oh dear. I'll think of his name. Why am I blanking on his name right now? Anyway, but if you have a patent attorney, definitely reach out to him and ask this question, or her and ask this question, and because that's really important, and that is a detail that I don't want to give you wrong information about. Okay. And Rebecca, you're welcome. I'm so glad that this information was helpful. Dawn, oh, Tamara's videos are amazing. I highly recommend them. Coffees are great. Thank you, Dawn. That was super sweet. Thank you for saying that. And TMB, can you refer me to a company who will make a prototype? Yeah, I have a list in my complete product launch system. So that is something that I give you, and it has textile, again, I don't know what your program, plastics, metals, all sorts of things in terms of different prototypers and prototype companies and manufacturers and factories. Okay. And so that list is there. Otherwise, jump into thomas.net, which I already put into the chat, and see if you can find someone who works with your materials. That's the best suggestion that I have. Okay, Dawn, Michelle, it is called continuation in part, but have to apply. Okay, Dawn, Michelle is saying it's a continuation. Awesome. Yeah, I've never done that. I usually have my 1 hour, my 1 year window, and then I decide whether I patent it or not. So that's great to know. Thanks for sharing. Okay, awesome. Any last question? I've got 5 more minutes. I promised you just now of overtime. Michelle, you're welcome. So glad this was helpful to you. And Anjali, my prototype is jewelry. Do you have a manufacturer that you can recommend in your product launch system? I don't have a specific jewelry. I have a lot of students that I have worked with who work with jewelry, and what they have done is they have used how I research. I teach you how to research factories and what to look for, and so that's what you will learn, Anjali. You'll learn how to find the right fit for you. And so I've had lots of people make jewelry and have found factories overseas, not so much in the US, but mostly overseas. And I show you how to do that, and how to search, and how to look, how to find a reputable factory overseas, and mostly in China. That is primarily in China. But now, people are branching out, and they're going to India and Mexico and all over the place. So, really know that it's open to possibility for you, and the price points overseas just are much less, as you know, than they are here in the US. And I don't know where you're logging in from. You could be overseas right now, so it may not be that big of a leap for you. Okay, and okay, Leonid. Okay, sorry for if I didn't say that properly. In answer to Michelle's question, you have to convert into an application seeking a patent. Within that year, the provisional app is pending. A CIP is adding new material after the year. The old material would not be able to be protected by the patent. Yeah. So again, I would check in. Thank you for sharing that. And I don't know if you're an attorney, but that's awesome if you are. If not, also, just check in with your attorneys just to make sure, and talk to them about your specific product. And because it's always good to get that advice. Okay, awesome. Thank you for saying that. We have an attorney on the line. I love it. So listen up. That's great advice right there. And thank you for sharing it. Perfect. So Leonid has generously offered up some information. Appreciate that very much. Okay, and last question, my friends, before we sign out. Great. I'm a patent and trademark attorney. Perfect. And so you'll probably, probably agree with a lot of what I said, and that is that trademarks are awesome. I've had really good experiences getting trademarks as well. And they're powerful, actually, and have helped me a great deal. So with that said, my friends, take care. I hope you'll take advantage of the Ultimate Product Launch System. And let me just jump back on camera because I always like to say goodbye. Thank you for joining me, and I hope this was helpful to you, and the replay will come to you, so if there was information you couldn't write fast enough because we were covering so much, you will have a chance to go back and look at that, and I'll keep this offer up until, where are we, Thursday? Probably just until the end of this weekend, and then I'll take that down. So with that said, take care, everyone. Bye.